Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about poetry in play. All right. So, in my humble opinion, Dungeons and Dragons is not a game. It is actually a very special tool built by Gary Gygax to be a human flourishment engine. All right, and it is specifically connecting highly charismatic, highly confident, highly intelligent people in the world today to identity, narrative, and language in a way that no other humans interact with any of those aspects. We're farther out on exploration of identity, narrative, and language than anyone in the world. Linguistics are starting to be, those who study linguistics, those who study story at the highest levels, those who study identity, right, through science, theology, politics, and philosophy are all behind an average dungeon master. Okay, this is, and I was going to say to you it's transformative, but I don't need to tell you it's transformative. Joe Manganiello is telling you people are using D&D to transform their own lives, and as a result, the culture they live in. Those are his words. Incredible, right? So it's not just Scott Garibay saying this anymore. The basic expert just said, D&D is not a game, it's a life brand, right? Increasingly, people are saying what I've been saying for 4 years. D&D is not a game, right? It's starting to be openly discussed places other than here, okay? Basic expert just said it. Go back and check one of his latest videos, right? Incredible. So what I want to talk about today is this amazing show that every Dungeon Master has to watch called Winning Time, the rise of the LA Lakers, the rise of the LA Lakers dynasty. And there's this part where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is teaching Magic Johnson how to do a skyhook. They're in this is like the first year of their major legacy, and they're about to go up against, hey, my hometown team, Philadelphia 76ers, right? And so they really have to crush it, to get this done, right? And Magic Johnson, like they've just finished like game 5, right? And they're in the series, right? And Magic Johnson, rather than going home, goes out onto, the Lakers forum, right? And is literally practicing his skyhook. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is, he comes out to find Magic, and he finds him practicing the skyhook. He's like, nah, you got that wrong, right? And he says this thing that is beautiful. It's poetry. Magic Johnson says to him, what you just said is poetry. I'm going to tell it to you now. So he's like, hey, listen, let me explain the skyhook to you. If you're going to do a skyhook well, you have to understand this principle. The skyhook is about elevation, right? So you're a big man, right? And that means everybody's going to be on you. You're going to be double, triple teamed at times, right? And the skyhook is about isolation. You take the ball and you turn your back to them. And he shows him, and he says, and your body becomes a wall separating you from your foes, right? And you have now made this dividing line, right? And he said, and now you're facing away from them, and they cannot see your face, and you become unpredictable, right? And he said, you leave them. And Magic Johnson says, you leave their world? He questions, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar says, no, you elevate above their world, right? And it's astounding. And then and then Magic Johnson says, that's poetry, like what you just said. And what it really is when you connect to something, right, that is profound and amazing and world-spanning, which basketball is, right? You begin to interact with science. Skyhook is about science. It's about an arc, right? Theology. You don't think like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar literally in the show goes to his imam, is like, I can't play this game. I can't play basketball because I'm not right with God, right? So the skyhook is about theology. The skyhook is about politics, right? It's about who you are, who they are, right? This isolation, disconnecting yourself, no longer being connected and elevating above their world, right? Like it's saying, I'm going to isolate myself now. Communication ends. That's politics, right? And last, philosophy, right? Like elevation, separation of worlds, acknowledging there are different worlds, right? In one subject, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is discussing science and theology and politics and philosophy, right? And when you commit yourself to something, you begin to interact with these human catalysts, these four human catalysts, science and theology and philosophy and politics, in ways that no other human does, right? And this is what I'm saying. I'm committed to Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm not apologizing for it anymore. And it's part of my identity, right? And what I'm saying is, if anybody can do it for an activity that includes throwing a ball through a hoop, yeah, I can certainly do it for something that literally explores identity, narrative, and language that is 100 times more valuable than basketball will ever be, right? And our world doesn't question that people attach their identity, literally sacrifice their bodies, right? And attached science, theology, politics, and philosophy to basketball, but we keep getting marginalized, right? The dungeon master, the Dungeons & Dragons player are a marginalized intellectual group, and we need to move past it. Exactly like basketball players were marginalized for a long time, and that time has very much ended. And I think they have either moved out completely from marginalization, or their marginalization has been massively reduced. Right? That's just my humble opinion. Every single word, and here's the kicker, right? Where's this attached directly to Dungeons & Dragons, right? Players have an opportunity to increase the level of play between each other by using poetry, right? How do you get there? You stop thinking you're playing a game. You all in, you commit, you accept the words of Joe Manganiello, and you allow D&D to transform your own life, and as a result, the culture you live in. You reject the Candyland nonsense, the absurdity of every OSR ally out there that Dungeons & Dragons is about cutting goblins in half and not cutting your own deficiencies in half. That's how we get there. We speak poetry to each other. One player speaks poetry to another. That's how we elevate above the OSR allies world. And we reach a level they never will, which is exactly why Project Black Flag is failing, exactly like the MCDM project will fail, exactly like Orc is going to fail, because they never accept it as anything more than cutting goblins in half, and they truly believe that turning the dial on this one rule is going to change things, not looking closely at who we are, our identities, our narratives, our language. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.